Hello, welcome once again. Hello, welcome once again to another episode of the Flickitall podcast. I am your host, Edgar Lomelli, and it is currently 4:30 in the morning. I am, as you all should be, stranded. Not stranded, quarantined. May as well feel like stranded. Anyways, hope you guys are safe out there, tuning into this while doing something. Doesn't have to be productive, just as long as it's in the safety of your own home. Now, the problem with the situation of the world at hand is there's nothing to report, really. I mean, I guess you could, if you want to be boring, talk about how, Khan is refusing to go digital. Watching a Wes Anderson film on a computer screen. It's like, they make a point, but like, that's not news. I don't care to talk about that really right now. I mean, maybe any other day if things were normal. Then again, this conversation wouldn't happen if things were normal, but if for whatever reason they brought this up, maybe I'd go into a brief discussion of, well, what's the validity of seeing new movies digitally versus in the big screen. And I did kind of go over that last time I talked, because I was talking about all the movies that are being delayed. Now, the reason there's really no news for me to talk about is the only one news thing that really matters, and it's really the only thing there is that AMC is projected to not survive this closure that they're currently doing for the virus. And for a lot of reasons, that is horrifyingly depressing. First off, they're my employer, so because obviously if you can infer from that I've temporarily lost my job, but that's already bad enough. But making into a permanent loss would absolutely be fucked. And that's my personal connection. Now, even if I didn't work there, the biggest problem is that they're the largest theater chain in the world. They have the most money. If anyone were to have survived this, it would have been them. So what do you do when the biggest theater chain in the world is in immense danger of shutting down, not surviving? Where will all the rest of the theaters go? What the hell's going to happen to them? And because of that, I'm extremely worried for the future of cinema as a whole, because if theaters go away, are you just going to have to watch every single studio start their own streaming service? And soon enough, it's already bad enough with how oversaturated it all is, with like at least bare minimum 20 different streaming services that could be considered mainstream in one form or another. Imagine that being 80 or 800, because where else are studios going to show their movies? And that's a big deal. Now, the thing is, there is good news and bad news. Major theater chains are suffering, but independent local cinemas have struggled to maintain relevancy. But despite everything, some have lasted almost 100 years now. This is once again now going to make a personal tie. I am from the northern suburbs of Illinois, and there's this theater called the Liberty Theater that was opened in, I believe, 1930s. And according to historians, Marlon Brando worked as a usher there. It's a very small theater, just very small lobby area. And there's a little rope section, so you go in line, buy your ticket. But whenever I went, there was nobody in line. And, that's because probably I'd always show up way too early or way too late for movies, That's what being a kid is like. And then you get to a small lobby, which is just the popcorn and stuff, a little condiment station, and then they had a random golfing, those arcade golfing games that you see at local bars and shit. They had one of those PGA golf arcade machines, and then the bathrooms, and just two theater halls. They only played 2 movies at a time because that's all they could. And because it has such historical relevancy, people were fighting to preserve it as a historical landmark in Libertyville, which is where the theater was located. Now, just about 2 months ago, the theater is officially shut down. And that hurts so bad because that theater raised me. I owe everything I am to movies, and that was the main place where I would watch them. And that was a historical local theater that almost lasted 100 years, and they want to turn it into a parking lot. And it's horrifying because, especially now, that was right before all this outbreak stuff went down. So imagine your favorite local movie theater. Imagine the independent art house cinema theaters, just things like that. These classic, iconic theaters, all in extreme risk of closing down. So that's what I was going to say. There's good news and bad news is that since they're independent, there is yet hope for them. We can, as a collective, support them and keep them going. Now, I'm so sorry. I'm about to grab my phone so I can place it here. And sorry if that makes a lot of sound. So, Criterion, if you know the company, I've talked about them, I'm sure, many times, that do the Criterion collections, Criterion Channel and whatnot. Theater. Sorry. Damn. Okay. I'm sorry. Essentially, Criterion. I can check my Facebook page. I'm sorry. So, essentially, Criterion and Janus Films, the film distributor that takes classic movies, and they would distribute them, but it seems like mainly they distribute them to specifically Criterion to be really released. And so they started a GoFundMe called Art House America campaign, and the goal is to help independent cinema survive. So the campaign was started. Criterion Collection and Janus Films got together and donated $50,000, and so a lot of people, they just spread the word and try to get as many people as possible to donate. And they're at a $500,000 goal. Currently, they're at $375,000. I personally have donated to it because, as you can tell by how I was talking earlier, this is an extremely important thing to me, that independent cinema survives, if nothing else. Sorry, my throat's getting dry just talking. Actually, I didn't read this. They updated as of yesterday. On Monday, just a week after we started this campaign, the review committee approved the first emergency grants to support the 52 art house theaters listed below. Several theaters have already told us that even these modest emergency grants represent more money than they have taken in from any source since they have had to close their doors. So, they list out all the theaters they're personally working with and getting these funds to from all different kinds of states. But One of them is the Music Box Theater in Chicago. Now that is probably one of the most famous independent cinemas, I like to think. Oh, sorry for the noise. I'm moving my phone back. Sorry. So, that is one of the more famous ones, and it's one I also adore. Once again, my personal connection is that I've been there countless times. Through DePaul, they have free screenings of movies, and that's how I saw The Thin Red Line on 35 millimeter, whatever it was. Slight tangent. I don't know 35, 75 millimeter. I don't know what the fuck I'm watching. I just know it's shot on film, and I'm watching a film projection of it, and it looks great. I saw A Thin Red Line like that. I saw fucking Spring Breakers on film. And I actually went opening night to see Joker in a film, and it looked fantastic. Movie, other story for another day, as you see from my video where I talk extensively about it. Let me tell you, I love film theaters. It's so great. And I've been there countless other times. And as stated, the funding that Criterion and Janus are doing for the GoFundMe for independent theaters, Music Box Theater is included in that. But they have figured out another way to self-sustain. Essentially what Music Box Theater is doing is, if you go on their website, musicboxtheater.com, that's THEATRE, musicboxtheater.com, you'll see that they're doing a thing called virtual cinema. So what it essentially is the movies that would have released in an alternate universe where everything is normal, that would have released now, they're doing a digital release for it, essentially. It's 72-hour rental for $13 for 3 different movies. Now, if you're interested, you can look it up on the website into the other 2, but the one I primarily want to focus on is St. Francis. This is a film that's a directorial debut from a DePaul alumni, and I went to the Chicago Critics Film Festival just to watch this movie. And if it was considered a 2019 release, it would have been in my top 3 of the year. I think it's an absolute 5-star masterpiece. It is so simple and effective. Geez, sorry, talking my ass off is drying my throat. And it's so good. If you don't cry like a bitch by the end, I don't trust you, man. And that's one of the 3 movies you can watch. And because of the fact that it's not getting a traditional release, this is the best and most current way to watch it while supporting an independent theater, especially one as important to the fucking culture, the history of Chicago as Music Box Theater. So, if you can, I'm imploring, begging you, please consider just checking it out, looking into the options they have. But that's the one I highly recommend. I adore that movie. It is shot in Evanston, a suburb right north of Chicago. So if you're from Illinois, it's a really good local film, indie film. If you're not from Illinois, it's just a great indie film that I feel like the more people find out about it, it will catch on and be a thing. And I want to be one of the first to spread it because I fucking watched it a year ago almost and had no idea when it'd come out. And then somebody messages me on Twitter saying that this fucking movie came out on fucking Music Box Theater, just released it digital rental. It's like, okay, that's great. I'm even considering renting it again just to see it and support the theater. And I really recommend you guys do too. It's for a good cause and it's a great movie. You won't regret it. And the fact that it's like a price of a ticket, you could like have friends and whoever's quarantined with you. Not friends and just whoever's quarantined with you. Don't let people in. Don't go out. Maybe you can have your friends and family from afar rent it, and you can all have a little Zoom viewing party of St. Francis. That sounds fun. It's a great time. And, okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I recorded this podcast episode 2 nights ago, but it was incoherent rambling, and I did not talk about the news as much as I am now. I'm actually really glad I found my way into coming up with articulating things to say. Because, yeah, the only news is movie theaters are dying, but hey, there's some solutions to at least the little guys, help them fight the good fight. All right, well, that's all I have for news. I just realized I completely forgot to talk about what I've been up to recently. The squads. Sorry, had a burp. The 4-player Battle Royale update for Modern Warfare is phenomenal. I don't like the new multiplayer maps, but the fact that you add 4-player squads and they completely change the weapons is absolutely great. There's so many good guns there. Like, the fact that it's so relatively easy to find a assault rifle with a thermal scope, you're fucking unstoppable. And then for a secondary, grab a sniper with a thermal. Literally no chance of any other team beating you. It's great. And I just a few hours ago I bought Tetris Effect, and that's the gameplay you're probably watching right now. I apologize for it being so bad, but it was my first time playing Tetris. Really playing Tetris, like, ever. The only time I ever really played Tetris is like the demo that would last like a minute or something on every cell phone back then. Like, that's the extent of Tetris. I never really actually played the game, And this is really fun, challenging for me because I'm not too smart with puzzles. But I love the concept of the music and how it's so dynamic, and it's something so unique that only the art form of video games could accomplish, and it's fucking great. I love this game so much. I just wish I was good at it. I panic too much, and then I don't know how to recover. I'm not good under pressure. And movies, I got Andrei Rublev, the Criterion for that, and Letter Never Sent. Andrei Rublev is a masterpiece, undoubtedly, but it's not entertaining. It is something to behold, but you don't just sit down, pop a Modelo, grab your bros by the shoulder and just be like, come on, bro, let's go watch a Tarkovsky film. You have to be in such a specific state of mind to even consider the idea of watching it. So this is my first Tarkovsky film, for the record, and I ordered this one without having seen it because there's a lot of shots that I saw, like screenshots of the film, where they're so nice and wide and just absolutely beautiful. And so I feel like the first half of the film really engages you. It's mesmerizing in its visuals, and I just absolutely adore it. And then the second half gets boring, but it's still like a continuation of what you liked so much that I can't say that because I was bored it drags down the quality of the film overall. That's just personal taste, but I believe every single aspect of it to be completely necessary. So that's why I'm not sure when's the next time I'd ever want to watch Andrei Rublev, but it is a masterpiece. So that's my thoughts on that. And Letter Never Sent is another Russian film from about a decade apart. This one came out a decade earlier and it's a really fascinating survival movie. It's about a group of, like, what the fuck do you call them? archaeologists. I don't know. They're looking for diamonds for the glorious motherland and shit. The movie is very Soviet and very feels like propaganda about the triumph of living and dying for your country and for your comrades, taking care of one another. And that there's some shots that are insane to me. Not because it doesn't seem like they couldn't be replicated, but because of the fact that they were done in 1958, I believe is when the movie came out. Like, there's beautiful use of handheld camera work at times, and the part when the forest is on fire is shot so beautifully. I genuinely question if they burned down a real forest to film that shit. That's why I'm easily so impressed with older movies. It's way easier for me to be on their side because it's like you had to do everything in camera practically. And you could get away with some amazing shit by being clever. And because of the fact that it's shot on film, lower resolution, black and white, you're allowed to get away with way more shit than you would like in a modern ultra definition colored digital image, and I really enjoyed it. It's near perfect but not quite. I have some flaws with pacing, and just the whole propaganda feeling is a little weird, but it's one I highly recommend it. It's one of the cheaper. The reason I got it is because you need like a $50 minimum order on Criterion's website to get free shipping. And so Andrei Rublev is one of the more expensive Criterions they have. So if you get one of the more expensive ones and the more cheaper, it gets to around $50. So that's all I needed. And the reason this one's cheaper is because it's just the movie, unfortunately. There's no special features of any kind whatsoever. It's just the movie, but it is a very good movie. And it's highly worthy of being in the collection and to have in your collection. Okay. Wow, I feel like I have way more to say now that I'm not, out of my mind loopy and tired. And also, I decided to jot down a few notes. So I feel way more prepared. Because now... Sorry. Mr. Buns, the bunny I'm watching... He was making some noise and I got nervous. Now, we'll be getting into the topic of the week, which is Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, the postmodern masterpiece of a kid's film. Teen film is a more respectable term for it. Now, dear listener, you may think this to be a joke of some sort. Why would someone as prolific in their film taste as Edgar Lomelli, one of the greatest directors who's ever lived, but the world just doesn't know it yet, why would he love a film like Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen? Well, let me tell you, there are two camps in this world. Those who were young enough to have seen it and then fallen for it either in theaters or in Disney Channel reruns or wherever the fuck else it's probably played, and you just love it for nostalgic reasons. And even watching it now, you're like, it makes you feel happy. It makes you feel like I'm a kid again. Therefore, I think I like the movie. Or you were too old and you saw the movie too late and you dismiss it as nothing more than just a stupid Disney movie made for teen girls. Well, I argue I have ascended into the upper echelon, and my third eye has taken a completely different look at this film, and I hope I can get through to you and we can dissect and analyze this modern masterpiece together and figure out what makes it just so great and why you may love it, but you don't know why exactly. You can't put it into words. I'll do my best to help. So the film is Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen. If you have not seen it, it is available on Disney Plus, and I'm not sure if it's available anywhere else in terms of streaming. So try to find a friend who shills for Disney and get their login info and watch this film, and then come back and listen to me dissect it, and you can dissect it with me along in the comments. If you have seen the film or just don't care, let's get right into it. So, the first thing that truly stands out is the visual style. Now, this is a film about Lola, a teenage girl in high school, who has just moved from New York to New Jersey and is essentially rebuilding her life in a way. She's unsure. She's at the age where she's unsure of who she is and is constantly trying to rebrand herself, make a new identity, And of course, if you couldn't tell by the title, she's an extreme drama queen. So everything's just over-exaggerated and her lies are extravagant and this and that. And so when we see her imagination, it's very stylized and it's very specifically meant to look like a storybook. Like her life is something that should be straight out of a storybook. In the very first scene, we see her dressed very elegantly, Audrey Hepburn inspired, with the black dress and the hair in a bun, and she's telling her mother goodbye in a British accent. You're like, what the fuck? She's like, oh, mother, don't worry, I'll be okay, or whatever. And because the mom's like, oh, I'm moving to New Jersey, will you stay here in New York? And then once the taxi drives away, Lindsay Lohan's like, yes, I'm alone, yay. And then the camera zooms back to it, and then it shows very clearly it's supposed to be a storybook. And that's how the film starts. It immediately lets you right off the bat that this has style. This isn't your book smart or your Edge of 17. I haven't seen that. I don't know. It could have this for all I know. I have no idea. This ain't your mama's teen movie. This is peak stylized cinema that would make David Lynch quiver. And other examples is when she's like holding the dress to her chest, imagining how it's gonna be like dancing with Stu Wolf. And then she turns into Marilyn Monroe. And then she's, the pop-up band members are literally just like pictures in a pop-up book. And then fucking Stu Wolf comes out of Clam or something. It's so absurd. I love it. And by this point, you're realizing Audrey Hepburn inspiration, Marilyn Monroe inspiration. And then before that, there is another stylized sequence when Lola is telling her friend Ella about how her dad died. No, she's essentially explaining the whole romance between her parents and then getting to how the dad died. And it's supposed to be a flashback, but not really. It's like just drawings, and then the parents are dressed super exaggeratedly like 80s-ish. And it's fucking trippy, man. And the mom's floating and shit or something, and it's very cartoony. It's crazy. And so all these decades and influences of style really make the film feel like anything goes. It just really goes for it. And that's just the style in the flashback sequences, resorting to storybook visuals, because this is supposed to be a story. Another way is the music choice. The music choice is so early 2000s, but it is the rare instance of early 2000s that still holds up. Now, I am a long life avid fan of Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen. I consider it a masterpiece. Freaky Friday, the other Lindsay Lohan film from around this time, is, I like it. I don't love it. And people try telling me that the band song from Freaky Friday is much better than the song from Confessions of Teenage Drama Queen. And to that I say, go literally fuck yourself. You're wrong. Absolutely wrong. Don't wanna go again, take me away, away, away. It's not bad by any means, but that girl was a queen. Banger. Boom. And every song throughout, I couldn't even name all the songs. They just super early 2000. It is a time capsule for the years. I love it. And I guess going with the visuals of like the influences of the looks for her storybook flashbacks is her outfit. So since this is a girl's constantly reinventing her image, she's always wearing really out there outfits. Like when on her first day of school, she's dressed quite normal. A lot of like layering, and then the scarf thing almost makes her look hippie-ish. That's the closest way I can describe his style. And then as she's slowly becoming more confident, she's wearing like a hip-hop clothes when she goes to the dance battle against Megan Fox. And then she wears like to the audition for the musical, she wears like 1800s style ass fucking neck ass fucking wardrobe because she's one of those bitches looking like she's about to audition for Oklahoma. And just throughout there's consistent heavy changes. When her mom doesn't let her go to the concert, she dresses like an old woman in mourning almost. And then she, in a questionable decision, looking back now, dresses up Gandhi style, if you will. Like, oh, Gandhi did a hunger strike. That's what I'm doing. It's like, did you have to go the full mile to dress up like that? I don't know. Did she do it? Yeah. Is there worse offensive shit I've seen that's actually like offensive around that time? You bet your sweet bippy. So this isn't too bad at all, really. It's just, I don't know about that one at most, you know? And so on and so forth. Constant colors, changes. The style of clothing reflects how comfortable she is as a person and adapting to the situation. She's like, her outfits make her like a social chameleon. And it's just, you may just dismiss them as being like, oh, they're just extravagant outfits, anything they could find in the wardrobe room. But to me, if you look deeper, the colors, when they're used, why they're used, if you look deeper into it, it really says a lot. And she's just, as I said, a social chameleon. You know, she's just trying to figure herself out. She's unsure of who she is, so she's just trying everything else, or everything out. Just throwing whatever sticks, you know? And what else? Let me look at my notes. Production design, for the most part, it looks pretty standard, which is fine. But when they get to... Hold on, I hear people talking to the side. Who's not properly social distancing, huh? Oh, this window's so exposed. I hate this. Anyways, the parts where it matters, really. Like, in Stu Wolf's house party, that shit is wild as fuck. It's just very... So, like, the main lighting is white. The main outfits are white. But then later, the whole thing descends into chaos because there's also, like, Well, the main lighting is blue, I'm sorry. But the main outfits are white there. But then at points there's lighting that's red for where the rappers are. And it's like, oh, we're gonna divide black people into different lighting? What? They're not good enough for your blue lighting? I might be reading too much into that, but it's like, I got my eye on you, Miss Lindsay Lohan. I got my eye on you. Years after that movie's made, you try kidnapping children and saying that you're rescuing them from their families. I'm onto you. Your symptoms are showing. And it's just such a silly early 2000s look because their outfits are like either fluffy or they're like, you know how materials that Bratz pants had? If you ever had Bratz dolls, like the diva pants, it's like metallic-y, reflective-y. I don't know what the material's called. I'm blanking now. But that's such a wild look. But it also looks, even though the party itself isn't elegant, that use of colors and lighting makes it seem like a more upscale thing. Like, this is an exclusive thing only the elites of the industry can get into. And another part I liked was the very end musical scene for the musical, you know, with that big number. Excellent. It is wildly, oh shit, I hear people, I'm so scared. Anyways, guy can see me sitting here. And that number, it's insane how the theater's musical budget, or the school's theater budget, is insane. Because you got like 10 kids on the laptop. They all press space to play the song on their laptops. And then you have a bunch of dancers wearing very spiky blue hair that's straight out of early 2000s. And they're, once again, their reflective outfits. And Lindsay Lohan's got her pink and her fuzzy shit. And they do this very elaborate dance with all these sets that still look like they could be made in high school, but after a while you're like, the amount of technical production that goes into this, I don't know if we could pull that off. But hey, maybe this school's unique and they really do appreciate the arts. I don't know. Fucking wake me up when you find that existing in real life. And that this sequence is so just silly. It's so celebratory, you know. It really lets loose with the camera angles, movements, colors, and shit just blows off the wall. It's a great visual climax to the whole story that for a lot of the time is subdued. Even though I've talked about the style of the flashbacks, all that, just the normal scenes going on about is quite standard, one could say. And that's a good note, Edgar. Let's talk about bifocal lenses. In case you don't know what a bifocal lens is, it's essentially a lens that is in a way split into two, so that it has two different focal lengths, so that you can have two different areas that are in focus that are at different distances from the lens. So you can have one person in a close-up and one person in a wide or even a long shot, and they'll both be equally in focus. But the cost is that it gets hella blurry with everything in between, and it looks super weird. A lot of movies back then did it. Like, the most notable examples I can think of are Blowout, Come and See, which is kind of it's what's inspired the thumbnail, in case you're wondering. I guess I should finally acknowledge that. Yeah, I put Lindsay Lohan's trial face onto the kid from Come and See's head. And yeah, so the use of bifocal lenses reminded me of Come and See, because in Come and See, there's that essential part towards the very end where his face is in focus and he looks horrified and completely defeated by the world and the atrocities he's just seen. And the girl who's been accompanying him most of the time, if not the whole journey essentially, is in the background over there, and they're going their separate ways, it seems like. And it's a powerful shot, powerful moment. And this film, it uses it, I want to say, twice. The first time it uses it is during the auditions. Lola and Megan Fox, I'm forgetting her name, so we'll just call her Megan Fox. So Lola and Megan Fox are obviously there. They're both there to audition. Now, I suppose this is where we're going to smoothly transition into the character section. So, background is that at this point, they've just met once, it seems like, and they already very much don't like each other. And Lola's in the locker room, and she overhears Megan Fox telling her friends, yeah, I was talking to the head of the musical, the director, whatever, and I suggested to her that our adaptation of insert play's original name here into modern day New York. And like, yeah, that's such a good idea. And then Lola's like, adapting a classic into this? Ooh. And so in this scene at the audition itself, the director announces that she came up with the idea of the musical being modern. And so Lola is in the foreground, and she raises her hand asking, oh, Miss blah, 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 so you're saying you're the one who came up with the idea? And in the background, in equal focus, is Megan Fox. By having these intimate shot only focusing very specifically on the two of them, shows that this is like really where the rivalry and a shift in the dynamics change, because this is the point where Megan Fox's character is exposed, at least to just Lola, for being also a liar. This is the first time we see that Lola and Megan Fox's characters both really have a lot more in common that they're letting out, but it's just slowly dished out to you. It's such an insignificant moment to the grand scheme of the plot. It doesn't change anything, but it's there to clue us in on the characters and show the relationships and how they see each other and how they really are similar. And that's the first use. The second use, I cannot think of why they used it. Maybe they just like the look. It is when Ella and Lola are searching for Stu's place, and Lola's dad is following behind. And so Lola goes to talk to the dad. And on the shots of Lola, we see her in the foreground and Ella in the background. Bifocal lens have both of them in equal focus. The way I see it is it closes distance in between them. It makes it seem like Ella is very close to figuring out, oh God, that's my dad, because Ella's the one who notices the dad following them. She's the one getting paranoid. And so this is like, oh shit, is she going to find out that that's Lola's dad? And so I guess it creates some tensity like that. That's my theory of why they use a bifocal lens. Other than that, I got nothing. I could really justify the first one, make it seem deep, which I like to think it is. That's the thing people have to remember. You don't do things in movies by accident. You can have happy accidents. You can have mistakes. But for the most part, you go in with a plan. You have to set up lights. You have to set up the camera. You have to set up the motions and blocking of actors to get a singular shot. You don't just stumble into it. So that's why I believe every single thing has a purpose in a movie. You don't just do things, say things, show things, withhold things for no reason. And so that's why these choices of using this very, very specific lens and camera setup has to have some significance. And that's why that's my theory on it's just showing intensity and how she's close to figuring it out. That's why they use the bifocal lens the second time. Anyways, moving on. There's only 2 times that sped up footage is used. This was kind of a common thing in early 2000s kids movies, but the way this movie uses it actually makes sense and isn't fucking obnoxious. Because it seems like what movies would do back then that would cause them to use sped up footage is just a kid running around a house being hyper. Oh, gotta make it fast to sell it. It's so lame and tacky. It's so outdated. But this movie only uses sped up footage twice, and the first time it uses it is when the casting, or I guess the cast sheet is posted. I don't know what the fuck it's called for the musical, and Lola and Ella get there, but so do Megan Fox and her friends. And so they race to get to the list first, and the whole race is sped up. And it makes it very 1920s slapsticky. Because I'm not sure if that scene would have worked as well if they had kept it at regular speed. I like the choice of speeding up to match the pace of it, and matching the pace of the music that's accompanying it. And it's very 1920s slapsticky because, in case you didn't know, the reason movies from back then look like that is because, you'd hand crank the camera, the film within the camera. So depending on the speed of the cranking, it could change how fast or how slow the image is. And so by speeding it up and having slapstick to it, it really feels like a 1920s movie. And the emotions would be fast. Not that fast, but pretty fast and shit. Oh shit. I thought the bunny was crying. It's just a bus pumping its brakes. Shit, where was I? And yeah, so that's the second time. I'll get to later when they use sped up footage. So that's just all the technical aspects I like about this movie. Now, a real meat and potatoes here is the characters. You'd think I would talk about the characters first, but no. This is where we incorporate all the elements of filmmaking to serve the story and the characters, because this is a Paul Schrader-esque character study of a teenage girl trying to figure out who she is. I say it's Paul Schrader in the sense that it's extremely monologue-y, and she's always saying what she thinks, how she feels, and exaggerating it to fucking terrible proportions. And the thing she says, there's one line in the very beginning where she says, "I am a flamingo in a flock of pigeons." That is such a good line. And though it doesn't seem like something any Paul Schrader character would say, the way it's delivered and when it's used feels very Paul Schrader-y. I made a controversial tweet that wasn't controversial at all because everyone unanimously agreed, is that if Martin Scorsese directed Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, it would be considered a masterpiece. I still stand by that. And it just seems like Paul Schrader could have written this movie quite similar to how it is now. But in an alternate universe, it wouldn't be too far from what we got. And the character of Lola seems so surface level, but there's a lot to her. For example, the relationship with her mother isn't really played up because that's not what the film is about. The film is about self-discovery, but what it uses with the mother is so effective because the mother never explicitly inhibits her, Lola, from being who she wants to be. She doesn't go out of her way to stop her and say, no, you can't do that. She just always looks tired and fed up with Lola's act. Like, she gets it. She's probably been like this her whole life, and there's no point, like, fighting because she just knows she's going to change into another person and personality the next day. So there's no point in her caring. I just really like that approach to the mom where she doesn't care. She's not going to get in the way. That's not her goal. She loves her daughter, and she accepts her for who she is, which is some wacko who changes her personality every day. It is what it is. And Lola doesn't, like, resent her for any real reason. Even when she's not allowing her to go to the concert, she just is a drama queen by having her hunger strike and dressing up like an old lady and not eating her food or whatever. She doesn't, like, take it out on her mom directly in any mischievous way. So, like, the relationship is good, and the ultimate part that lets us know is the way that Lola defends her mom when it turns out Ella's mom doesn't like her or her mom because she thinks the family's weird. And after that scene where she storms out of Ella's house and then explains to her, like, that's the mother, that's the woman who gave birth to me and shit like that. And then getting into the story of how her dad, quote unquote, died. And then this, just to make Ella feel guilty for even talking shit or thinking all that. Immediately in the scene after, so Ella says, your mom, or my mom saw your mom at the grocery store with blah, 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 and chopsticks in her hair, and she was arguing with the butcher, just shit like that, explaining why the mom disapproves of Lola's mom. And so in the very next scene, it's just Lola getting home, and she passes by her mother in the garage. Her mother's a potter. I guess she's making a vase or some shit in the garage, I think. I don't know. And they look at each other, and Lola just says, I like the chopsticks in your hair, Mom. And the mom smiles. And that's the whole scene. They dedicated a whole scene just for that one moment to happen. Now, think about it in filmmaking aspects. They had to secure either a location or make a set that was a garage. They did all that just to get that crucial moment, because that is so important to letting us know the relationship between Lola and her mother. It's all I said, but just essentially told to us indirectly. It's such a sweet and tender moment. And the thing is, it's not like in any other movies where she lash out on her mom and turn against her in her third act downfall or anything like that. No. It's not there to try to create that inverse that usually comes around the third act. No, it just consistently stays there. She always loves and supports her mom, and vice versa. It's fucking fantastic. And, in the third act downfall, I guess, is when she doesn't want to go to the play or musical because nobody believes that she went to the Stu Wolf party and all that. Like, the mom never gets mad at her. She in fact, supports her in choosing to stay home, She lets her pretend to be sick. It's insane. She's so supportive. It's insane. I love her. The mother's the real hero of the movie. And sorry, once again, just listening to the bunny, checking everything's good. And then Lola, there's a lot of problems with her. She is a deeply flawed character in the sense that, yes, everyone tries to adapt to their environments and try to become the version of themselves that people like. And because of this, people adapt many different personalities depending on who they're talking to. Like me, for example, I consider myself a social chameleon. Like, somebody recently, it was last quarter in one of my classes, a student I'd never talked to before. We were just waiting for class to start outside, and so we were just talking a little bit, and he said, I can't get a read on you, man. Like, what kind of person are you? I just told him, well, I don't know, man. I'm kind of whatever I want to be. I'm a social chameleon. Like, I'm into too many different things to just be one type of person. Like, I'm down with whatever. Because, for example, I am a film major. I'm one of those. I'm a cinema snob. But I'm also really into gaming. So, like, if I was in a room with a bunch of fucking nerds and they're all just talking about video games, I'd want to kill myself. But I'd still be able to communicate if I had to. If people are getting too passionate about a film discussion, I may want to kill myself, but I'm way more likely to get into that conversation with passion. If someone talks about music, I'll be passionate about that always. I love, it's just that, like, people aren't just one thing. And so this movie is taking that to the nth degree of a girl trying to figure that out. But to the degree that she's actively harming her own image and not even realizing, because in trying to appeal to people, she lies. And to the point that she can't even keep up with her lies because, eventually the truth comes out that her dad isn't dead and that she lied to Ella about that. And it's a huge deal because Ella's like, why the fuck would you lie to me about that? Like, what else are you lying about? Who are you? And that's why, they're about to go to, like, the biggest thing of their life. They're going to fucking Stu Wolf's party. You personally invited them. And she's like, come on, Ella, let's go in. And she's like, I don't feel like going. And it's just so relatable. Like, this really hurts to lie to people like that. Like, it makes you so untrustworthy, and I don't know. That's a thing. Like, I guess I could see people making the argument that Lola is a character who gets what she doesn't deserve. But I disagree. It's not like everything just... I would say everything just happens for a reason, but let's go over it case by case. So, 1, her getting the lead part in the musical. She had the talent, she had the confidence, she went for it. 100% earned it. That's fine. Losing the concert ticket, losing the money to buy the concert ticket on the train, completely human. That creates conflict. It happens to the best of us. I just recently lost my visa, literally, like, passport and visa, 5 days before heading out to India for a trip. So, it happens to the best of us. And her stumbling into Stu Wolf outside his house, this is an interesting topic of debate amongst scholars. So, why was she the only one to approach him? My theory, well, first off, the dad was following them and wanted to make sure everything was safe. But in order to get rid of him, the movie has another dog pass by so that the dad's dog gets distracted and he goes chasing after the other dog, and the dad's just like, whoa, following along. So boom, that clears him out. So now what about the security guard or people who are outside, bystanders? My theory is that since this is a private party, he knows the people invited, that they're probably been around him long enough to get used to this shit, get used to his drunken arguments and shit. And because of that, I can assume people just see them stumbling they just need their time apart. They need to get some air. It's still weird that not even a single person approaches him, but you could still convince yourself enough, it's just whatever, he'll come back. Maybe they just give him his space. Maybe he has a history of just being like, fuck off, give me my space. You don't know. I can buy it. So, Lola and Ella going, this is just for a movie to happen, Nobody wants to watch real life. That's not what we go to movies for. That's what we live for. And so I'm stumbling into Stu. It's just a representation of never meet your heroes, because eventually it turns out he's just a drunk. And Lola, what she wanted him to be is not what is, It's really sad that this whole movie she's been fucking fangirling over the band, mourning the band's breakup as if it was a close death. Just to finally, this is a moment, because it's so exaggerated, this is a moment that every girl would kill for. Or just, if you're a fan of anything, this kind of experience is what you'd kill for. Me, I'd fucking murder to hang out with a drunken Paul Thomas Anderson at jail. I'd love that more than anything. And so this happening to her isn't she didn't deserve it, it's just happening to her. It's a representation of, this is as good as it can get, and even then I'm starting to learn that this is not what I want. And it's such an important lesson to show kids, famous people are pieces of shit. Don't get too attached now, you hear? It's a great message. And so that's why I believe she's not a character that just gets everything she wants undeservingly. It's all to serve a greater purpose into the story and to show the kind of person she is. That she can and will do things, and sometimes life doesn't work the way you exactly want it to. And the fact that nobody believes her. In the pivotal scene is after they go back to school, after the party. They go back to school. Megan Fox is saying, I didn't see you there. But she clearly did. We know as the audience, but the people around her don't know. So she has the advantage. And because... Hold on, is this shit... Okay, this shit is recording. Wow, I've gone on so long. I've never talked about a movie so long in my life. Oh, wait, no, I'm reading upside down. It's not an hour and 30. It's an hour and 3. Anyways, so... where was I? Shit. So in that pivotal scene, everything's coming back to bite her in the ass. She's not getting what she wants. She thought she got what she wanted when Megan Fox saw her. She's like, yes, now she knows I'm cool enough to be there. But she won't let that be the victor, because the victor is who you believe. She calls Lola out on lying about her dad dying. And because of that, that's the trump card. That's the damning thing that shows Lola cannot be trusted. She definitely did not go to the party. She lied about her dad, who says she's not lying about going to the party. And it's fair. And so that scene shows, no matter what you do, the bad choices you make will come back to bite you in the ass and trump over all the good, Once again, a very, very, very good movie teaching about the importance of being honest and shit. Without ever telling you, she never has a moment in the very end. She goes, Well, I think I should just be myself more now. I should be more honest. Nah, it just gives you things and it lets it be. It is what it is. This movie's very good at that. Now, Megan Fox, speaking of, she is a great villain. She is a lot like Lola, but she is what Lola could be. In the sense that, you know how I say Lola isn't a character, just everything falls into her lap? Like, Lola works for what she has. She earned that lead role. And destiny is what had her meet Stu, for her to learn her lesson that lying is bad. Well, Megan Fox is of the upper class. She expects to have everything. She, by default, expects to have the lead role. She expects to go to the Stu Wolf party because her dad's Stu Wolf's lawyer and shit. And because... Oops, sorry about that. Fan turned on, so I had to relocate to my room. So, she grows up rich, expects everything to be handed to her whole life. This is when the film presents the idea of classism into it, where it's the rich versus the poor. The rich are given everything, they expect everything, and receive it. The poor / working class, in this case Lola, she has to work for what she gets. And so the interesting thing, this is where we segue into the character of Ella, who is probably my favorite in the movie, because she is right in the middle of these two worlds. I'm making the assumption that she is upper class because of the way her house is decorated and the way her mom carries herself and presents herself. It gives me the belief that Ella's of the upper class, but she likes hanging out with Lola, who is a lower class than her. So she's like in between both worlds in a way. And that's why the mother looks down on Lola's mom, because she doesn't adhere to her high class standards of what a woman should be like, without ever having to say it like that directly. It just, once again, presents ideas and lets the viewer interpret them and read into them. And oh shit, I'm getting sleepy, I'm sorry. I forgot where I was going. Oh, see, that's the problem with recording a podcast. You get comfortable one place, but then the fan turns on and you have to completely relocate. You lay down on a comfy bed, and now you just want to close your eyes and make this into a 10-hour podcast where it's an hour and a half of me babbling on about Lindsay Lohan's magnum opus, and then just another fucking 2 to 8 hours of fucking sleeping and snoring. Anyway, so the character of Ella, what makes her so great is that she just sees past that. She likes Lola for who she is and always supports her. When we first meet Ella, they're both at the bike rack. And Lola notices Ella's Sid Arthur pin and vice versa. So immediately they connect over their shared love for the band. That is insanely realistic. People bond over similar interests like that, very simply. It's a great starting off point. So they're fast friends because of that, and you buy into it. It is realistic. And then, later on, when they have to obviously hang out, not just talk about Sid Arthur, we don't see it, but you start to see that, Ella's learning more about the kind of person she is. Lola is a bad influence on her, and she tells her that. Ella is this good girl from an upper class family. She can't lie. in one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie. Now we're finally getting to when I said I'd mention later the second use of sped up footage is this. When when Lola's looking for what to wear to the concert, she's throwing clothes onto a pile on the bed and the footage is sped up. But at the same time, Ella's sitting on the bed next to the pile and her face is getting increasingly worried and you're just watching her have a panic attack in real time. And I think it's an incredible shot. I love it. And it culminates to her hyperventilating and then Lola being like, "What's wrong?" And Ella's like, I can't lie." It's just so emblematic. Oh, my sweet Ella. Oh, I love you. Oh, just such a wholesome creature. Oh, the best. And so she's a goody two shoes. Lola because she's like, "Oh, can't you ask your parents if you can go?" And then Ella's like, "To the concert?" She's like, "Oh, my mom will bite your nail off just at me asking." So they immediately assume, well, asking's out of the question. And so Lola tries bringing her character down to her level. Let's just lie. Come up with something. And then it turns out Ella asks her parents and they say yes. They say, "Oh, we'll take you there. You'll meet us at the hotel after," and shit like that. It's like, oh, okay. All we had to do this whole time is just fucking ask. It's just things like that. Like, that's also so realistic. The sense that you would be so scared to ask your parents something as a kid, and then once every full moon it turns out they're just like, "Yeah." You're like, "Wait, really? I didn't have to do some elaborate hijinks to get what I want without you knowing?" Okay. Shit, that makes it easy for me. And what else about Ella? The fact that she just sticks with her through it all. The pivotal part is she says she can't lie. But then when she sees that Megan Fox's character is teasing Lola once again about like Megan Fox is going to be at the concert and she says, "Not in a million years will Lola be there." And then right before Megan Fox walks away, Ella finally reaches her moment of change and says, "Yeah, we'll be there. We'll see you there," basically. And Lola looks at her like, "What? Really?" Because this is a moment as the audience and Lola are both finding out about the change. Okay, I'm about to shit my pants. Okay, so the air just turned off here, and then I heard the door handle creak a little. Not move, but it sounded like it was touched. Ooh, I'm about to have a heart attack anyways. So, God, where was I? I'm so sorry for this episode. This is a mess. But that's the moment we find out Ella is now willing to lie for the sake of making Lola happy. And it's like, not a 100% positive message for the kids, but it's realistic. This is what would happen in the real world when you're young, you know? And so Ella just rolls with it. Lola wants to sneak in. Ella doesn't want to, but she kind of does it anyways. I don't even think it's intentionally. And then Lola says, "Let's go find this place." She's down. She's right next to her every step of the way. And it's really when she finds out that Lola lied about her dad dying. That's what causes her to finally be mad at her about her lies. And it's like, yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. You made it this whole deal to Ella in the beginning about the parents in love and the dad dying. You made her feel so bad and you fucking lied about that. That's shitty. But then at the very end, when Lola's pretending to be sick in bed and Ella comes to drag her ass out and get her to the play, that scene's so sweet. Because, like, she's putting her in her place, saying, like, you're only letting Megan Fox win by letting her have the role she wanted that you earned and shit like that. Like, who cares that we know that we were at the party? Why does it matter what others think? And it just presents this idea of, like, Schrodinger's party. This is where the film gets philosophical. It's like, if people didn't see you if people don't acknowledge your presence at a party, were you really there? You could have been there the whole time. You could have been in Stu's room wearing his clothes. You could have hung out with Stu. You could have gone to jail with Stu. But if nobody saw it, did it really happen? And Ella's of the belief that live in the moment. If you lived it, that's what matters. To Lola, if other people saw you live it, that's what matters. And this is a precursor to the social media age where we like to present this idea, this glorified idea of ourselves, where, for example, I could take a Snapchat story of me with a bottle full of, or a table full of alcohol bottles, be like, we about to get lit tonight, or some shit like that. You know, nobody gives a shit. People will see the story, more likely than not, because they're just trying to skip through people's stories, you know, clear up the notifications of whatever. And the reality could be that I could be drinking them all by myself, you know? Like, you never really know the story behind the camera or that Snapchat story, you know? And that's essentially the idea at hand here, where Lola wants so desperately to be believed, to be seen as better than others in certain ways, that she can't stand when people don't believe her for it, even though she's rightfully earned the distrust of others towards her, you know? It's just very thought-provoking, where it's like, this movie predates social media and how everyone's just a hype beast and clout chaser, you know? Nobody lives to live anymore. Like, I won't name any names, but there's a very specific group of girl friends I have. They're more friends with each other than I am with them, but every time they hang out, they make sure to take at least half an hour of their time taking photos with each other. They have to take photos of clinking their mugs or their cups. They have to take photos of the food. They have to take photos of this. And they post on social media just to seem like their life is in order. But without their photos, if they didn't have phones or these social medias to post on, they'd have nothing. They'd really have nothing. They don't have much personality outside of their social media presence. It's so sad, and that's essentially the kind of person Lola is. Lola is Lola is essentially the yesteryear Instagram girl, the social media influencer, the clout chaser. And that's essentially the two opposing ideals here. Ella is the realist, live in the moment. Lola lives for the clout, wants to be remembered and liked fondly. And so when Ella's able to get through to her, that's the moment of change, when Lola realizes she can't let the opinions of how others perceive her get to her. She has to live for herself. She has to be who she is. And to further that, Lola isn't her name. Her name's Mary. Her mom calls her Mary throughout the whole movie. But right before she goes on stage, her mom calls her Lola. And then she's like, oh, you never call me Lola. And she's like, And then the mom was like, that's your name, or something like that. Essentially showing that, like, now the world is acknowledging that Lola has become her own person. She has grown, she has found herself, and it is beautiful. Now, I don't want to talk about the very end because it's dumb, in all honesty. It's really weird that a rock star guy sobers up for a teenage girl and slow dances with her in front of everyone. I don't know. Not my cup of tea, but it is essentially also a kid's movie, so it has to also serve as a powerhouse fantasy for dancing with your stan. But if you ever look at K-pop or stan Twitter in general, you'll see, I think they do much more in slow dance with their folks or whatever. But the last thing I want to talk about, I promise I'll let you guys go. The very last thing I want to talk about is the love interest character. I don't know his name. And every time I watched the movie, I couldn't understand what his purpose was. Why was he even there? Initially, one could write it off as he is just the mandated love interest because this is a teen movie and the girl has to get a guy by the end, you know? But let's look a little closer into his character. The first time we see him, she's staring at his ass. So that's clearly a shot for the girls, you know? Just, ooh, look at this cute butt or whatever. You know, establishing him as a love interest. The next time we see him, he is just creepily sitting in the very back of the auditorium when the musical auditions are being held. And it's like, what's up with that? Why is he there? Is he interested in Lola? I don't know. And then once Lola finds out she got the part, remember, this is the scene where Ella and Lola are running and they're racing Megan Fox and her friends. It's just the 5 of them. And then as soon as she finds out she gets the role, he shows up out of nowhere. Why is that? We'll get to that. Next time he shows up, it's a scene where he's fixing a car and Lola's telling him about her problems or whatever. And he says, she's like, I like your boobs. He's like, I like your smile. So that's just a scene to show that they're flirting, you know, there's something there. It's like, okay, whatever. And then the next time we see him, he's simping for her when he obtains the dress from the theater wardrobe for her to wear to the concert. And it's supposed to be a whole silly scene. It's passable. It's fine. And after that, I believe we don't see him until the very end when she's slow dancing with Stu Wolf and it morphs into him and then they kiss. Now, here's my theory. He is very Shakespearean in his nature. He only shows up as some important parts. And he's always asked to be filled in. He shows up immediately after she gets the audition and he says, congrats. So that him being there is a presence that shows, oh, this is a big deal. That our Shakespearean character who transitions us in between acts is here. And he's the one who helps propel the plot forward by obtaining the dress that she desperately needed in order to go to the Stu Wolf concert. Now, the main theory, though, is that he represents Lola's detachment from reality. Because remember, what you show in a film and what you don't show in a film are equally as important. So why do we see him so minimally, yet they have a connection of some sort? One could dismiss it as that it's lazy, they didn't know what to do with the character. I see it as He's always there. The film just takes Lola's perspective of life and doesn't show us him because she only sees him as a sexual object in the very beginning. She desires him, because looks are everything. That's where you get your impression. That's just human nature. And then from there, she likes the idea of the guy she found cute to be watching her kill that audition. And then she likes the idea of the guy she finds to be cute congratulating her for getting the lead role. And then she likes the cute guy helping her obtain what she needs, which is the dress. And then she likes the idea of having a guy to kiss in the end of her fairy tale story. She got everything she wanted. All she needs is a cute guy. Now, color me crazy, but there's two theories we can get from this. She represents her detachment from reality in the sense that she only uses him and doesn't care about anything else. She only uses him for favors, for gratification, or anything to benefit herself. She doesn't seek to be friends with him. She just wants compliments and kisses. She's like a girlfriend. She wants nothing else from you. Or he could be a figment of her imagination. Now, we all know how much I don't like Joker and how they terribly fumble the character of Zazie Beetz, but I think that character, if you look at the male character in Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen through the lens of Zazie Beetz and Joker, this is a brilliant version of that. It just shows an even deeper flaw in Lola's character, that she just does not see people that don't directly benefit her 24/7. See, Ella, the way she benefits her is a friendship and a strong bond from Sid Arthur. Because Sid Arthur is Lola's life, that's why she's able to allow Ella in at a consistent rate, because Ella also loves him just as much. Now the guy, he's not as interested in the things she's into. So there's no need for the film to show him there, hanging out with them. No, he's there when Lola is in need of something or another from him. And so that is why I believe he is a brilliant character that's actually highly important, showing Lola's values and beliefs. Because even though I said Lola did change by the end and realizes to be her own person, that still doesn't mean she doesn't like getting the attention and getting the things she wants, which is completely fair. But when you see the Stu Wolf morphing into him and then her kissing him just as a thing in the end, it kind of leaves her a dark ending, where it shows that she's still going to somewhat be the same and hold her toxic traits. And there you go. After all this babbling on, that is my theory on why Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen is an absolute masterpiece that should be reconsidered and recontextualized by all. I hope you enjoyed. Maybe not. I kind of just talk my ass off for a while. And I hope you really rewatch the movie and reconsider a stance on it. It is a masterpiece of the ages. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I have a better episode next time. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Oops.